Hi, my name is Eric Thompson.
I'm Jeff Forbes. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yes, sir. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I guess I got into computer science a long time ago. As a kid, I got interested in computers through a few camps. It was actually like, there was a minority engineering camp, this other computer camp. It was long enough time ago that actually just getting to use computers over the summer was apparently worth having a camp for. And then, I did some programming on my own, and I went off to college. And it's actually kind of odd how I ended up into computer science. It was really kind of just luck. It's that I had a scholarship. And the scholarship said I either had to be an electrical engineer or I had to do computer science.
Wow.
And it turned out that I'm not that good at electrical engineering. I would plug things in, and like chips would blow up, wires and all that kind of stuff didn't work well with me. So I said, I like the problems that we deal with in computer science, and I stuck with it ever since. And it's turned out that, I just really enjoy solving the problems that we solve in computer science.
Okay. So would you say it was difficult for you to actually find more problems to solve, or you think that with the day and age that new problems are being created?
Oh, no. I mean, I'd say my greater problem is that there are too many problems, and you're always being inundated with new ones. And it's like, how do you just focus on one part, right? Because there's so much to look at. So, I don't think, for example, something we've been looking at recently is, so there's all this Facebook stuff out there, right? Wouldn't it be useful to use some of that to kind of, one, solve some problems that we're interested in? For example, how do you recommend things to people based on what their friends like to do, right? That's one of the things we're looking at. And another thing is, why can't we use problems involving networks and social networks to get more people interested in computer science, right? Why can't we take some of the students who are interested in sociology, interested in economics, interested in biology, things like that? Because, I feel like right now, we're not getting everyone we can into computer science, right? Because I think people are seeing the problems as being far too narrow. They're like all these problems which are of interest primarily to computer scientists and no one else. Mm-hmm. So I think there are a lot of really interesting problems out there, and if we look at some domains that are outside of computer science, I think we'll find even more problems there. In fact, I think that's where most of the interesting problems are.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because my one of my biggest issues, I guess, with research was that as I was coming up, I really didn't know anything about research until as of probably about my sophomore, junior year. So I actually got introduced to it. But then when I got introduced to it, I was introduced to it from a couple of friends of mine. They were like, "Oh, basically, you're doing a bunch of busy work. It's not as interesting as what I found out it was."
Yeah. And I think we need to do a better job with that as computer scientists, right? Why is it that when someone gets involved in a research experience, what they end up doing is, sometimes it's, installing something, sometimes it's, just doing some basic programming, but really what we do is pretty creative, right?
Yeah.
If you listen to, what Professor Bashi or, what Charles Isbell was talking about today, these aren't cookbook things. These are actually, to me, exciting things, right? There's a lot of creativity involved. And, I was saying before, I like the connections to other fields too.
Yeah. So as far as research, what research are you actually working on now?
So a few things. So my background, I did my PhD in AI, specifically reinforcement learning, trying to make cars that could learn how to drive from trial and error experience, which is a bad thing for cars, but it's a whole nother. But we did that in simulation, so it was fun. And I've kind of switched gears a little bit in as a faculty member, doing a few things. I mentioned this whole idea of making recommendations, right? We call it collaborative filtering, right? This idea of you have all of these experiences that people have. Imagine you're on Amazon, everyone's done shopping, everyone's bought things. How do you use all of these different experiences that people have? How do you use all their profiles, and how do you use the actual information they've given you, like ratings, to make the best recommendation you can? So looking into systems like that, I had a student who gave a talk at the last Tapia conference who was doing this really interesting work in recommending bibliographic citations. Like you read a research paper, how do you create a database that people are going to use, and how can you recommend papers based on what they do? Like how can you tag things and actually implicitly and explicitly recommend things? Another thing I do is I'm really interested in just how do you teach computer science education well. So that's one of the things which, that's what in a lot of ways inspired me coming out of graduate school is like I really enjoyed the research I did, but when I taught a class and you really try to get students who are relatively new to computer science to understand what makes computer science interesting, I found that was a great experience. And so what I've been looking at is coming up with different methods. So in trying to use what we do in our research to kind of use that to inform what we do in our teaching.
Okay. Okay. So as far as any future projects you have lined up?
So a few things. So we mentioned this whole recommender system. Well, we're going to take this bibliographic citation system, and what we're trying to do, I mean, right now it's like, just in our department, we want to make it broader. We want to get people all over the place using it. We want to use this as a way that people can learn about how to do research without having to
do research.
Well, no, they need to do research, but they don't need to like how do you find out what's interesting in an area? Right now it's this completely unstructured thing where you talk to some person and you ask them what's new in an area, and then you finally find out. But that's hard to do, and not everyone has everyone around. Like at Duke, we have a pretty good department, but we're not that big. So there's certain areas you just can't find out about. So what this system is supposed to do is help you discover new areas. And funny enough, we're using the same kind of ideas to try to do the same thing of help you find music. Okay? It's like, I like watching this in the music. I mean, you see a lot of systems like this on the web. You listen to this. Here, why don't we recommend this for you as well? So that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay. Well,
among other things.
yes, sir.
All right.
So you have a bright future ahead.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
Yes,
I hope
sir.
so. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, it's been a pleasure interview.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to find out what you do too.
Oh, yes, sir.